In this screencast, I'm going to show you how to add a new translation to a text in Sefaria. So here I am, I'm looking at Mishnah Zavim, and we don't have any English for this text. We only have the Hebrew. So if I am able to translate this text, I can add a translation by opening the About Text menu on the left, by putting my mouse on the left-hand side, or by clicking on the About Text button. And I'll see a button here that says Add Translation. If I click that button, I get into this side-by-side view where I can enter a new text and see the translation on the side. So this is what I would do if I were starting an original translation. That is, I'm creating this translation from scratch right now. I can just start typing in this box. I know that that's the first Mishnah. When I hit enter, you see my cursor jumps down to the second one. It's important that we keep the translation and the original text aligned properly. So every time you hit enter or delete, we'll make sure that your cursor is in a spot where it's aligned with a particular segment of text that you're translating. You can skip segments though. Let's say I don't want to translate Mishnah 3, I can hit enter again, and it will leave these 3 dots in place. Any place that I have 3 dots next to a text means that I'm leaving it blank, that I don't want to do it right now. So I can come in and now say, okay, I do want to translate number 5, so I can do it just like that. And now I can hit save at the top, and we can see that I've now got an English version of this text lined up with the text that I just wrote. For the ones that we don't have, you'll see that I left these blank, and now there's a button that prompts me to add English for Mishnah 4 or 5. Any of those I could click, and when I click on that, it will scroll me down to that particular Mishnah. If I want to come in now, I could replace those 3 dots with Mishnah 4 and save that as I like. So we want to encourage people to think about this translating process as something that's ongoing. You don't have to have the perfect translation just to start. Everything you do in Sefaria is public and visible to others to improve upon. So as long as you know that you can do a translation that is accurate and not misleading, we'd love for you to enter whatever you're capable of giving. Let me show you another example of adding a translation. I'm just going to open up a different text from Mishnah Eruvin, and here we go. Let's pretend like we don't have the translation for this text just yet, even though we do. And now let's think about copying a translation from a public source. So over on this page, there's a website that has this translation of the Mishnah, which was published in 1843, which means it's very clearly in the public domain. So if I wanted to, I could just copy and paste all of this text and add it to Sefaria. And let me just take a moment to show you what that looks like. So I've just copied that text. I come back in here and I go over to add a translation. And now I can just paste all of that text in place. So immediately the thing I gotta pay attention to is to make sure that these texts are properly aligned. To see that, here we go, Mishnah number 2 is in fact connected with number 2. I don't need to keep these section numbers in the text itself because Sefaria is able to keep track that this is number 1 and this is number 2. So it's really better to delete those numbers in this place. And then we'll start to see there might be some artifacts like the page numbers. Sefaria doesn't need to know what page this appeared on, so I can go ahead and start deleting all of the extraneous information. And as I go, I can just see that we are now lining up 4 with 4, 5 with 5. Delete all of the extra text, and in just a few short minutes time, I should be able to have this entire chapter of the Mishnah copied into Sefaria. So bear with me while I get to the very end. So that was number 10, that was it. So now we see all of these Mishnayot are aligned properly, and I can save this text. The one thing I got to make sure of though first is that this is not an original translation. Don't want to take credit for this. This is in fact a copied text. So I need to make sure I enter a proper version title. I say this was the 18 treatises from the Mishnah, and this was copied from this location. So I can enter in a link here to make sure that there's a source that we see where this text was copied from. And once I've done that, I can click save. And we're saving this new text. And now you can see we've got the side-by-side translation, English and Hebrew. And if I go over to my About Text menu, you can see that the English here includes the version I just added of the 18 treatises from the Mishnah. So if I click on that one, this is the English text that I just added, 18 treatises of the Mishnah copied from sacredtext.com by Plony Lockspizer.